We're live. It's episode 3 of the Flip Flop Q&A. We're going to do every Wednesday at this time, 6 o'clock Puerto Rico time. Welcome, guys. And today we're going to talk about liquidity on the island and what the hell's going on with the banking system in our crazy upside down economy back in the States. It seems like every couple of hours another bank is failing right now. And this is, to me, out of nowhere. So I don't have a lot of answers about that, but I've got questions. Maybe some of you that are going to watch this, we can just have a conversation and we can dive into what's happening. Is this the end of banking as we know it? What's it going to do to real estate? What do you do to protect yourself? I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. So the theme of the day is sort of liquidity, how liquidity influences real estate, and what the heck's going to happen with all of this banking nonsense that's happening in the States. You have to imagine that it's going to cause some markets to be on sale. And I want to hear from you guys. So I don't know. Adon, how many people do we have in with us now? Or do we have people who have joined, or we have people coming in?
We have 2 and you can see them there.
2 in who I cannot see because I'm blind and old. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining us. Be sure to put your questions in so that we can answer them. We'll spend about an hour and we'll just go through as many questions as you guys give us. We'll try and give you as much value as we possibly can. And for that, all we ask is that you hit that thumbs up button for us. So if there's a couple people in here, I'd love to see a couple of likes on the video. And that would be tremendous. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And we hope that you guys are finding value in this and that's why you sit down with us for an hour on your Wednesday night. So if you have some questions, start to bring them in. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking to myself and
just keep talking to yourself.
Say that again?
Just keep talking to yourself.
Just keep talking to myself. You know, I talk to myself when there's no one to talk to. So yeah, I don't know what you guys are feeling, but for me, this banking crisis has come out of left field. Like I knew very well going back to 2007 and 8 that there was a huge bubble and that things were going to have to correct. And so you could tell that the banks were giving away too much money. They would lend money to anybody. And it was just insanity. And so it had to stop. I don't know what happened here in this case. I think it had something to do with blockchain and technology and stuff like that. All I do know is that they're coming for your 401ks. They're coming for your retirement accounts. This is not going to be something where everyone will get out unscathed. I don't believe that's the way that they set this up. So when they start to crash the banking system or when it starts to fail, there's going to be some kind of wealth transfer. It's usually not going to be good for the working class. It's not going to be good for the middle class. There will be some of you who listen to my voice that figure out how to make a bunch of money, and millionaires are made when times are tough. But everybody needs to have a plan, and you've got to start to execute on that plan. On this channel, we've talked about for the last several months having a plan in 2023. And my big idea for 2023 is that you're going to have to work harder if the market is the way that it is and people are losing jobs. And so you might as well start a business and work hard for yourself. And that's what we like to do. It says Maritza Diaz is watching. We should get Maritza Diaz to come on and talk to us, Adon, if you can arrange that. Maritza, will you talk with us? So, Adon, is that possible?
I mean, if Maritza can provide her information, we'll get to her, or she can email us at the
flip-flop flipper PR at gmail.com. Maritza, shoot me an email, the flip-flop flipper PR at gmail.com, and let's catch up and hear what you're up to. Maritza is a superstar real estate investor, and she and I have worked together for years. We've done, I don't know, maybe 1,000 transactions together, but it's a lot. We've bought houses at the foreclosure sale all over the state of Florida, and she's living the life down in the Keys, but she still plays in the real estate. So hopefully she doesn't leave us. She'll come on and talk. So what else, Adon?
Well,
you guys put your questions in there, and
so what do you do? What do you do if you don't have the security of a bank? Where do you put your money?
great question. So what do you do if you don't have the security of the bank, and if you've got your money just sitting in a bank account? That's dangerous, especially if you see banks closing. So far, it does look like the government is going to bail these banks out. That's maybe good, maybe bad. Anytime that they're going over the $250,000 limit that their FDIC insures these things for, you can bet that is a benefit to the really, really super wealthy. Way more so than Maritza says she can do it, but how? Maritza, email us at the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. Adon will send you a link, and we'll get you in here talking to us. So what do you do? I think the answer is you invest in companies. You start a business. And the other thing that I believe that you should do when times are tough, you should buy real estate. So real estate's a physical asset that you get to have use over, that you get to collect rents on, that you can live in, that you can farm. I mean, there are so many great things that you can do with real estate. And even in a bad down market like we have now, you can usually get some lending or some liquidity on real estate. It's a lot easier to do that in the States than it is in Puerto Rico. And with the current situation and what's happened over the last 72 hours or so, and then these banks going under, the liquidity coming to the island of Puerto Rico is probably not on anybody's radar. Unfortunately for us, we have a very illiquid market here. So lots of equity is pent up on the island of Puerto Rico, and it's just going to continue to be hard to pull out money. And so what's that mean? So take our small company. If we have 60 or 70 units rented on the island, and that represents 10 or 12 buildings that are cash flowing and making money in the States, we'd be able to very easily go to a bank and pull out a portion of our equity. So if you have cash flow, say of $10,000 or $12,000 a year, and you wanted to pull out $100,000, that would be a no-brainer for the bank to give you that loan, right? But unfortunately for us, it's not so easy on the island of Puerto Rico. And it was just so close. We were going to get these banking products. They were on their way with its debt coverage service ratio loans. People were lined up to get them, and they stopped the program. And that happened about 3 months ago. And then this obviously will put a scare in the market. It will delay things, but eventually it will come. We're still in a relatively good economy and market here in Puerto Rico. Real estate prices have come up quite a bit, but things are still moving, things are still selling. And if you're buying a house, this doesn't affect you as much. Interest rates affect you going up. It's made the money more expensive, but it's still available. So that's nice for someone who wants to buy their first time house. Like Adon, you're going to buy a house for yourself and your family, and it shouldn't affect your ability to do that, right? So you guys have good credit, a good job, good income, and you go out and you buy a house that you can get an FHA loan on, or you buy something with a conventional loan. That's still going to work. That's going to be available for you, and you're going to borrow the money at 6.5% or whatever they're at right now, and that's great. What it affects is all of this kind of pent up cash that's in with. There's been a lot of investment on the island over the last 4 or 5 years. And so people had to do that by cash.
Yeah.
So
here's some questions. Do agents and PR know about sub 2?
They're learning. Do agents and PR know about sub 2? So I think they're learning. We have successfully done a subject to deal. We've done a couple of owner finance deals, and there are some real estate agents that know about it and are investor friendly. I would say the vast majority of the people out there are just still going to have in their mind, they just want cash offers. And that's what's been happening on the island for the last probably 18 months, is that there's been very little need for anyone to buy something subject to, because you had so many more buyers than you had sellers, that people were getting multiple cash offers and things were kind of going up pretty rapidly. So, but if you are diligent about it and you continue to make these offers and educate the real estate agents, a lot of times there's a fear there that they won't get paid. So you need to educate the real estate agents that they're still going to get paid their commission, and that you're putting the seller in the position of the bank, or you're allowing someone to assume a loan that maybe even isn't even assumable. So when you do something subject to a loan, a lot of times there's a due on sale clause, and that scares people, and people will say, oh, you can't do it. But of course you can. You set it up properly so that you're making the payment every month to the bank, and you can do it a bunch of different ways. You can use lease options. You can just do the straight subject to. You can set up third-party payment companies so that you pay them and they send out the notice to the sellers and make sure the bank gets paid. So there's a lot of really neat ways that you can assume a non-assumable loan. Obviously, you run the risk of them saying, hey, that you violated the due on sale, and then you'd have to figure out how to pay off the bank if it came to that. In 25 years, guys, and we've done dozens of subject to deals, we've never once been called due, and I've never even heard of anybody having something called due, even though they're violating due on sale clauses. I've never heard of someone who was making the payment to the bank have the bank call the loan due. So I don't know if that helps, but that's that.
There's the other question. Do U.S. banks lend in PR? And if so, is it a similar process?
Yeah, U.S. banks do lend in PR. Thanks, Lance. And so that is what I was talking about earlier. If you want to get an FHA loan, you can do. You've got several options for that. If you want to have a conventional loan, there's several options for that. Now, I'm talking about traditional home ownership, and not necessarily the real estate investment side of things. So we've found, again, that it's very difficult to borrow money on a cash flowing. So say I have a 12 unit apartment building and it's cash flowing and it's bringing in $10,000 a month. And in the States, we'd very easily go borrow out some money and they'd lend us something, knowing that we're bringing in 10 grand a month and that we can afford to pay for a portion of our equity. That just doesn't exist right now in Puerto Rico. So the bigger stuff exists, like in our hedge fund, where we're going to do a multi-million-dollar deal. We can get those loans, and we're using a U.S. bank with one of the government programs through the SBA. So that stuff is available. It's really hard to get it done, but it's available, and that's when it's kind of an absurd amount of money. I've never even dealt with anything like it before, but we've got 5 hospitality assets in the Island Paradise Qualified Opportunity Zone Fund, and we're going to borrow a pretty significant amount of money against those assets. So what platform can I use to compare properties in Puerto Rico? There is Tasamax is the one that is closest to what I've seen in the States, where like CoreLogic is the one that everybody knows about in the States. And they do a really good job, CoreLogic does, of keeping track of everything that ever gets sold. It seems as though Tasamax mirrors that and looks very similar to what we're used to in the States. It's just that it takes a little bit more time. So some stuff that we recently purchased, say we purchased something last month, it might not show up on Tasamax for another 3 to 6 months. So it's not like in the States where if I close on a Tuesday, CoreLogic knows about it on Wednesday, right? Like it's basically seamless and basically immediate. So Tasamax is one. What's the other one, Adon? It's something Abreu. There's another one, Philip Abreu or something like that.
GRATEISIE? No, that's for something else.
But anyways, Tasamax is the one that I've seen that's close to what we've used in the States. So any other questions, guys?
Ask your questions. Now is the time.
Yeah, put in more questions. And what are you guys? I'm asking the question. What do you guys think is going on with this banking system stuff? Is this the end of banking as we know it? Is the government going to come in and bail out all of these banks? And how's that going to affect you if you're ready to retire and you had your money with one of these banks that has failed? What's that look like? Because to me, it's pretty frightening. I think that I wouldn't want to have my money in a bank account right now. Luckily, I am pretty fanatical about investing my money as fast as I get it. So I like to send my money out to make more money, to recruit more money. So as we sell something and bring in a gain, we're immediately reinvesting, or even our monthly cash flow. We take what we need to live on, and we live pretty modestly, and then we reinvest. And we reinvest in real estate, and we reinvest in we like to buy value add distressed property, because we know that when we go in and fix it up, we're automatically bringing the value of that property up. We can usually buy something at its low use, which means a vacant building is a very low use for the building. And anything that you do is a much higher and better use. And I love to figure out what's the highest and best use for a vacant building that's been sitting there for 10 years doing nothing. It's contributing nothing. It's just sort of getting in worse and worse shape. And we can come in and buy it at a low price because it has very little value. And then
I have a question.
Put some money in there and then change the use to a rental property, or change the use to a commercial building. Or we really like to invest in hospitality. So
if you were to take your money right now from the bank and invest it into a property, and liquidity is such an issue on the island right now, what are other options if you need to be liquid soon if you buy a property in PR?
Sell it.
Yes, but let's say because you know how banks are down here, they might be a little bit difficult. They might not be FHA, whatever. Let's just say your property is worth $320, but the bank only approves $250.
Yeah.
What do you do with the overage? Do you pay out of pocket? Do you maybe construct a seller finance deal? What do you try to avoid the bank completely and you become the bank? What would you do in that scenario?
Well, so we really love that idea. We like to be financing and putting ourselves in the position of the bank. So we like to sell properties, and then we'll basically lend you our equity, right? So if I've got a property that I bought for $200,000 and I now have $100,000 in equity, if I can get a portion of or most of my money back that I have invested, and then get an interest rate on the equity, that's a really attractive position for us. And so we've been doing some of that. We recently sold a penthouse condo in Guaynabo, for instance, that we bought a while back. It was a complete wreck. It was a foreclosure. We went in and fixed it. We spent $100,000 fixing it up. So we had 200 and something, 250 in it, and we sold it for like 400. And so we got a pretty significant deposit or down payment from our buyer, and they make monthly payments. And so we've created a cash flow on our equity, and we sold a property where he didn't need to go to the bank. We became the bank. So
That's awesome.
I love to do that. I think that's something that we'll continue to do, as we've been here for several years now, and we've got a lot of money invested on the island, and we've got some built up equity. So if you're interested in cash flowing real estate there that you can buy from us, and we would do seller financing, reach out to us at the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com, or leave a comment here if that interests you, and we'll try to reach out to you. So
here's a question. If you were to invest in real estate today, what asset class do you feel is the safest?
Great. I can't talk. Good question, Lance. We love investing in value add properties that we turn into small guest house hotels. So that's a property that was sitting vacant for a while, and we turn it into a 7 to 25 room guest house. And we use Act 60 to do that. We get 40% tax credits. So that's why we feel like that's a really safe investment. These investments that we've done on the island, where you take basically a building that's been sitting vacant and doing nothing for 5, 10, 15 years, and then you turn it into a guest house, you you already are increasing the value massively. You're buying it really, really well with some equity. Then you're putting your money in to fix it up, increasing your equity. And then when you start renting it out and getting the cash flow, your equity goes up again. So we get this sort of triple bite at the apple. And on top of that, the government of Puerto Rico will reward us for that type of investment by giving us up to a 40% tax credit. So that's sort of what we've identified as our favorite way to invest right now. I'm also investing pretty heavily recently in some multi-use projects. So we'll have a big commercial building and we'll leave half of it as commercial. So a restaurant or a club or a convenience store or something like that. And then above it on the top 2 or 3 floors, we'll build apartments and then just rent them out long term. So we like both of those. And
we got another question.
What do we got?
How can I attract investors for PR? And then we got 2 more going down.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great question. How do you attract investors for PR? You do this, you go and find a great deal and then you let the world know that you've got it. If you tell people that you're in Puerto Rico, that's of great value. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer. Like I have a business in Florida, I have a business in Puerto Rico, and the likelihood that I can find something in Florida that even comes fractionally close to as good of investment as we can find in Puerto Rico is really slim to none. And our sort of best case that we can expect if we buy something to flip in Florida is that you might make 20%, or if you really do well, you make 30% on your investment. And here in Puerto Rico, if you're buying a single family house to flip, you can expect to make 30 to 40% as your floor and then do better than that in most cases. So I think letting people know that you're here and that you're going to be looking at real estate. Obviously, if you have something under contract and you start to tell people about it, that's very attractive. But the first step, and what I did was I just started telling everyone, hey, I'm going to Puerto Rico and I'm going to buy some real estate. And I knew when I came that I had some people that would follow me, but I also had some people that had been doing business with me for years that were like, well, we're going to wait and see. And so we just started doing deals, and every time we did something, we got to report back to those people that, hey, we were successful here. Hey, we just did this and it was a great success. And eventually everyone who we were in business with in Florida followed us and came and did business with us here in Puerto Rico. And then along the way, we've met a whole bunch of other people. That's sort of part of our reason that we do the YouTube channel and this other social media stuff, is that we're always looking for partners. We're looking for people who have deals. We're looking for people who have money. We're looking for people who want to run a small guest house hotel or can manage a construction site. I mean, all kinds of different partnerships that we've done over the years while we're here in Puerto Rico. And we use these partnerships to expand our business and to be able to do more. We're really a small business. It's my wife and I and my business partner, Dave, and his wife, Carol, and a couple of key employees. So a very, very small business, less than 10 total full-time employees. And that's, Adon, Linda, Robbie, Dave. I mean, that's our team, right? Adon, we're just, we do quite a bit. We think we do quite a bit. And we've got a really good track record of success over the last 5 years. And the way that we've been able to do as much as we do is because we expand through partnerships. So it's been very effective for us to just kind of tell people we're in Puerto Rico. And this is a great time to be buying real estate in Puerto Rico. So you are going to get the pushback, right? Like people, when we first came here, had no idea about the island of Puerto Rico, if it was part of the United States, if it was part of, they didn't know where it was. They couldn't find it on a map, right? So you have some of that, but it's gotten better over the years. And certainly after COVID, a lot of people have discovered that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, that you can travel here with a driver's license. You don't need a passport. And so it is something that they're on their radar now, where again, 5 years ago, Adon, and you've heard this a bunch of times. It's like, where in Mexico is Puerto Rico, or where in Central America is that? Or what are you doing in Costa Rica? It's like, come on, guys.
It is what it is, Here we got another question from BK Breezy. Thank you. You are a loyal guy that shows up here, and we appreciate that a lot.
That's right, BK Breeze. Thanks for showing up week after week, and you ask great questions. So The Federal Reserve will launch Fed Now. What?
Yeah,
Don, read it because I can't see it. I'm sorry.
The Federal Reserve will launch Fed Now instant payment services in July. Liquidity is coming, but lots of pain ahead. The Fed is simultaneously doing quantitative tightening and QE-ing. Prepare. So explain that to me. I have no idea what any of that means.
Yeah, Breeze, we're going to do a question and answer with you when you start dropping knowledge like that. We're going to have you help us out and explain some of that stuff to us. We're all ears.
All right, going on to the next one then.
Did Maritza ever send us an email?
No.
Yes, she did.
No, I didn't send it to
the Flip Flop Flipper PR. I'm looking at it. Look in there.
Must have just come in now. I haven't seen it.
Oh.
All right.
Should be there. Lance had a question. Someone to buy real estate today, what asset class do you feel is to say? Oh, we answered that, right?
No, that is not.
Oh. If someone is to buy real estate today, what asset class do you feel is the safest in Puerto Rico considering today's climate? Man, I think for the same reasons I said earlier, all of the real estate classes here are really sort of a great buy at this time. Like you can come and buy land and farm it. You can get that land at relatively good prices and make money off of the land. You can do glamping plays and you can do just straight agricultural. You can develop and build. We have a massive housing shortage. So building neighborhoods is something that's just started. Like, so prior to Maria, the amount of houses that was being built for like the 10 years prior to Maria was drastically low. It was, you know, that plus Maria coming and wiping out a bunch of housing really caused a problem and a shortage. And now fast forward 5 years and you start to see new houses being built at a rate that you would expect to see for an island of 3 million people. So that asset class is still really good. Obviously, buying and fixing up a single family house to sell is a really safe way to invest in real estate because you're in and you're out and you're creating your value by buying something that's distressed and then fixing it up. But I am in love with the island, Lance, and so I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders, if not, I think the biggest cheerleader of Puerto Rico out there. And I think that all asset classes on the island can be really, really lucrative. So hope that answered your question.
So before we move on, guys, to the next question, please put them all in the chats. We're going to keep answering them. And don't forget to like the video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe and share this to all those friends that, you know, want to get to know the Flip Flop Flipper. Here we go.
How can I be part of these? So it starts with sending us an email, the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. Send us an email. We, again, we invite partnerships. We're always looking for people who are like-minded. And if you can't partner with us directly, we're members of groups. There's networking groups on the island, and we like to facilitate people doing real estate projects together. So our desire is to inspire, encourage, and invite people to become real estate investors alongside of us or with us, however that works best for you. And again, as I said earlier, we've expanded our business and feel like we've got a track record of success. And we've only been able to do that because we came to the island and started a business and invited people to partner with us. So that was sort of the way we hit the ground running. We literally got to the island and started telling people, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy some distressed real estate. We're going to fix it up, and we're either going to rent it or we're going to sell it. And we're looking for partners. And so we would interview real estate agents and we would tell everybody that we're looking for real estate investors. And we went and sat down and talked to people. And then we started showing up at auctions and making offers on real estate and partnering with people. And that is how we've been able to do something that's close to 100 deals in 5 years. So
how does someone do that if they have no experience? How can I work with Robert?
Well, again, the Flip Flop Flipper PR, send us an email, the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com, and start a conversation. But don't just start a conversation with Robert, right? Like, start telling people what you intend to do and see how that works. And then if you're diligent about it and you are continuously working towards the goal, and again, it's our intention to invite people and to encourage people to become real estate investors, which means we want to see you doing projects. We want to see you buying stuff. We want the local population to come alongside of the expat population, or we want the population that left the island for opportunity and thought that there was no opportunity in Puerto Rico to come back to the island, because there is opportunity here. And there's an abundance of opportunity. So it starts with sort of speaking it into existence and letting people know what your intentions are. And this is something, guys, that I've been doing for 25 years. I think it started when I quit my job. And as I was to quit my job, I said, I quit. I'm going to go be a real estate investor. I had no idea what that meant, how I was going to be a real estate investor at the time. I had no money. I had negative net worth, and I didn't have good credit. None of it. But there was a guy on the late night TV, Carlton Sheets, and I talk about him often. I never paid for his course, but he inspired me to be able to do it, because he had all of these people giving testimonials that they were able to buy real estate with very little money. And it's continued to be true over the last 25 years. In fact, I think it's easier now than it's ever been to get into real estate, and you really don't have to have a lot of money to do it. But you start by speaking it into existence and deciding, and just working. I hope we can get Maritza Diaz on the line, because
I sent her the link. She just got to click it and hop on.
Because she's got a great story, and I'll let her tell it. But the way that we started. What's that? We got another question.
Can you summarize how the tax incentives work for real estate in Puerto Rico?
Yes. So there's a ton of different tax incentives, and I probably can't do justice to all of them, but I can tell you about a few of them. Everything is done now through Act 60, and there are multiple great ways for you to start a business in Puerto Rico and get some tax incentives. And if you're a local, or if you're from the States, the stuff that I'll talk about right now will apply to you. So through Act 60, you have something that was formerly Act 20, which is an export service business. And if you are living on the island of Puerto Rico, you can start an export service business, selling your services or exports back to the States, and you will pay a 4% corporate tax on all of your revenue. And this is phenomenal, guys. This allows you to pay very, very little tax on your profits. And this is something that, unfortunately, many, many people who live here in the island don't know that this is for the local population, but it absolutely is. Now, is it easy? No, it's not easy. Are there a bunch of rules? Yeah, there's a bunch of rules. You have to read the law. You have to probably hire an attorney. You have to get yourself in the right kind of business, and then you have to be good at what you do, because paying 4% tax on no money, you're still broke. But you can do it. And so then the next one is the Young Entrepreneurs Act, which is also through Act 60. And this one is another great one. You can make $500,000 in your new business. So it requires you starting a new business and being younger than 35 years old. And you can make your first $500,000 over a 3-year period of time with paying zero tax. And this is just a phenomenal leg up on a way to start a business. So the last one that we're very familiar with is the tourism tax credits. And I talk about it all the time on the channel. And we've chosen to invest this way again and again. And we're going to continue to do this. But through Act 60 tourism, you can buy a property and turn it into a small guest house or a hotel or a bed and breakfast or a youth hostel, or you could do glamping on some land, anything that's tourism in nature. They have several different levels, and all of them lead to the same place. So you identify what it is that you're going to do, and you can get a 40% tax credit back on your total investment from purchase price through renovations and the first year of operations. So again, these are things that are tools that the island offers that give entrepreneurs a tremendous leg up. Like, would I rather start a a hospitality business in Puerto Rico over Florida, no freaking question about it, right? So the deals that you're going to do, they stand alone. They would make money anyways, and then you get 40%, almost half of your money back. You also in that Act 60 tourism, you pay 4% corporate tax on all of the revenues. So again, you have to set all of this stuff up ahead of time, and you need to be diligent about it. It's not easy. Puerto Rico, it's not going to be quick. If anybody ever tells you something's quick and easy in Puerto Rico, that person's a liar. It's just
so we
not
have
true.
Maritza on the line. If you want to get that conversation going with her.
Hey, Maritza Diaz, how are you?
Hi, Robbie. How are you?
I am well. I haven't seen you in a long time. You look good.
Short hair. No, it's a mess right now, but I didn't expect to be on video, so I would have done something with the hair.
Well, you know, you're not going to show up and I'm going to see your name and not invite you to come and talk with me, because we've done a lot together over the years. And
oh my God, I know.
So Maritza and I have, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of real estate deals we've done, but it's been an amazing run that we had. I'll tell a quick story about how we met Maritza. I had a
and then I might have a different version.
Yeah. I had a small business, and we had a young woman working for us named Marla, and Marla was doing well, and we had thought we had all of the spots filled that we could fill, and Maritza was Marla's friend, and she came in and asked if she could get a job, and we're like, no, we're full. We don't have any room. I'm sorry. And I think the next couple of weeks, Maritza just started showing up and sitting at Marla's desk and working with her. And next thing you know, it was pretty apparent that Maritza was working for us and with us. And so that was a pretty bold way for you to take charge there.
It was. Yeah, no. So Marla and I used to do banquets, and I had bought the William, I don't know if anybody even knows William McCorkle these days, but he had an infomercial, one of those infomercials that tell you, I'm going to teach you how to buy real estate. And I had purchased that, and I read it, and I had been to the courthouse, and I had watched the auction, and I thought you can buy a house for $100. I was that person.
Yeah. And
it was probably Jack that told me, yeah, you can buy a house for $100. He was just such a smart aleck. But Marla came to work one day and said that she was working for, real estate office, and they wanted her to buy foreclosures, and she would get frustrated and tell me, we were going after properties and they filed bankruptcy, or they did, when you go to a sale, you're never guaranteed to get the house you're going after. So I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do that. And there was, of course, no room in the office. And then one day I was in Connecticut for a wedding, and she said, when you come back, just come to the office and we're going to make this happen. And we sat in literally the same chair. Like there was a chair and a computer that I didn't even know how to use back in the day. This is what you're talking about, what, 20 years ago? How many years ago was that?
It's a long time ago.
It was a long time.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. So within 2 weeks, we bought our first house on Hoffner Avenue. I'll never forget it. It had a ferret, the smell of ferret, which I'll never forget that smell. But we cleaned out that house and made it happen. And you were on your way to a wonderful vacation. I was like, who's that? And she's like, the boss. So I had seen you come in and out of office. I remember that very well,
Maritza. You bought that house, and I walked through it with you. I was like, this girl just struck gold. It was like I had an aha moment of aha moments. I was like, oh my God, we might never buy a house another way. So it was such a good deal, and it was so apparently a good deal.
Well, it was in your neighborhood.
It was in your backyard. Hey, when I get back, I'm gonna get all the money that we can get, and we're just gonna go and do this.
It was literally in your backyard.
Yeah,
like that was your zip code because you lived there. And I remember that, and I was like, "Who is that?" Because Robbie would walk through the office, grab the newspaper, sit in his office, but if you weren't making him money, he was, there was nothing to talk about. So,
I wasn't as good at communicating back then either, right? Like, so I didn't share a lot. I was like, I did my thing. I was pretty good at it. And I wasn't a great teacher. I wasn't really interested in anything other than just doing my thing. Right.
Yeah. So, but no, it did well. It probably did better than most of the properties that the company had bought at the time. And that was it. You said we were going to have money from there on out for the foreclosure sale, and you sure made it happen. So
yeah, we never went to the sale without the ability to buy everything that was at the sale. That was our goal. Was we would show up to a foreclosure sale, and if there were 50 houses going, we were going to bid on 50 houses. We knew we wouldn't buy them all, but there wouldn't be any one during the day that we couldn't buy if it was a good enough deal.
But in those days, you were able to pick and choose what houses you were going to go after. There could be 50 houses going, but there was only the ones that had equity, and the ones that made sense were the ones that you were going to bid on. And then there was one day that all of a sudden the banks discounted from $300,000 to, let's say, 120. And we're like, we all looked at each other like, what the hell just happened? And Robbie bid on the house. So, and we probably won the bid, but we didn't know what the hell we won or how the hell we won it. But I'm sure it turned out to be a great deal.
We bought a lot of things that we didn't necessarily know what we were doing. We also bought some things where we knew what we were doing, and the rest of the room looked at us like we had a third eye.
Yeah. When you used to be able to buy HOAs and keep them as a rental for like ever, and then people caught on to that really fast, but they looked at us like we were crazy there for a minute, and we bought a lot of them that way.
So Maritza, tell people your story about becoming a real estate investor. So you were a single mom at the time, right? I think maybe you had a boyfriend, but you were working in banquets. Did you have any money? Did you have any experience, or was it how did it happen? How did you become a real estate investor?
So I worked banquets. I made good money in banquets. For the time, for what it was, I made very good money. But I had 2 young children, and I always told I would see Marla at work, and she was working for you guys, and I kept telling her I wanted to go, and finally she had me go in. And I remember there was this aha moment where I figured, so that first deal, let's use that one because I remember exactly what that house made. Hoffner made $17,000 on a flip to an end buyer. I put out for sale signs, handwritten for sale signs, and I sat out there and ended up selling it to somebody that was going to live in it. But that deal probably made me, I forgot, I think we made like 30% if we purchased it and 10% if we sold it. I forgot what the numbers were. But that commission made me what I would have made in a whole month working banquets. And banquets was hard work. I mean, you're working breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like the schedule was just insane. And I remember going to Houston's with you and, was it Paul?
Colin. It was Colin George.
George. And you guys sat me down and you're like, hey, what would it take you to leave that job? And I said, well, if I busted my butt in banquets, I needed to make like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And you guys laughed at me. You're like seriously? $4,000 or $5,000 a month? You could do it with your hands closed. And 9/11 was a big changer for me because I did have to work banquets that day. And I couldn't go pick up my kids from school because I was working. And I was like, oh no. That was it. So, and I remember the office right after that, like stuff slowed down. It got really quiet, but my goal was to make real estate happen. And we did. I kicked ass for many years there. Yeah,
you crushed it. I would say the thing I remember about when you were first starting out and working with Marla was that it would, the work day was say 9 to 5 and Maritza would be there at 7:30 or at 8 o'clock at night. And I remember several times saying, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I haven't bought anything or sold anything, so I can't go home.
Yeah.
It was like, Foster was my partner at the time, and we would talk, and it was just like, how do we find more people like this that will just come in and just work until you get it done? Like, there was no question for you. Once you made up your mind and quit that job, you were just going to flat out stay there and work until you got it done. So so the homework was done. Because too. I modeled much of my life after that. Like I know now that if I decide to do something, I just have to keep working at it until it gets done. And you showed me that. So that was I didn't know how to turn off a computer back then. Like I remember Foster one day saying, "What are you doing?" This is when computers was like our system that we were using were like F1 and F2 made this and some craziness. I took so many notes. This was almost before internet.
Yes. No, we had AOL. Like, you've got mail.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's come a long way. And so that's where I'm at today. So you've known where I've gone since then. And I ended up going further south, and now I'm in the Keys. The foreclosure sales went from being in person to online, and that meant anybody and everybody can bid on these properties around the world. And the properties came few and far between, because then you had places, companies like Blackstone coming in to bid on everything. And at the time, I thought they were paying way too much. And needless to say, like, obviously they've done very well for themselves too.
They did. You worked in that Blackstone office that had the big poster that said "Buy everything," right? Was that?
Oh, they bought everything. I bought all their foreclosure sales. I couldn't bid against them anymore, so I ended up working for them for a couple years there. And I bought other properties for Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach. And they had their number, they had their matrix, and I bought them. I got hundreds of homes from the foreclosure sale. And now they're probably killing it because they paid those amounts, and then the market went absolutely crazy. So I'm working on.
You talk about speaking it into existence, right? Like, they came in at a time where times were tough and there was blood in the streets, and they started buying. And we were at the foreclosure sale in Florida and in South Florida, and when they showed up, you couldn't beat them. Like, it didn't matter. We would. I think, remember, they pissed me off one time, and I was like, well, I'm going to cost you $1 million. And they're like, so what? And I would bid against them every day and cost them money. And they just kept going. And
we thought they were crazy. I thought they were crazy.
They were insane. And then 2 years later, they were geniuses. Yeah. So it's, that was fun. That was very interesting. Good times. So what are you doing these days? Are you buying anything? You doing anything, or you're just living on
I'm working on that. So I've bought here and there, but nothing compared to what we were doing. I've been pretty much like on retirement mode in the background here, but I feel like there's lots of opportunity to be had right now. So I'm in the process of making those wheels turn and making some stuff happen.
And Lance Hernandez is on here too. I
saw that, right? No, he messaged me. He texted me. He's like, laugh out loud. He saw my message. So yes, I think cool. Lance
he's been going up and asking great questions, and so we'll have to have Lance on too one day and catch up with him. I don't think
I've ever been on any of your live. I never saw you go live. I just happened to click on. I was like, oh wow, look, he's literally live on YouTube. So why didn't we do YouTube 20 years ago and go through all these houses and look at all this foreclosure craziness? And
I know.
Oh my God. Right. We would have had a hell of a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
All the things we saw, like, no.
That's for sure. So what do you think of the market? You just were saying you think there's going to be opportunity in Florida. Are you seeing things shift a little bit?
Shift, but it depends on how you go after them. So I don't think the foreclosure sale, I don't think it's there yet, but I think the people that are in foreclosure, they still have equity, and I think they need to be approached prior to the sale. I think there's opportunity there. But I think there's like a little bit of a lapse in realistic numbers to where they really need to be. But I want to work more towards the taking over mortgages and being in that position and giving them some money to walk away, but we'll see.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Someone asked about subject to, buying things subject to, and you and I did some of that. I don't know if you remember the Florida Woods house, but I bought that one subject to a long time ago, and then I bought it back at the foreclosure sale after I pulled all the money out of it and went broke.
Yes. Actually, I think I was the trustee for that property, because I remember I signed off on something. Yeah, I signed off on something for that Florida Woods property.
Yeah. So we still have that one as a rental property. I think that what you said, like, there is a list of properties that are in foreclosure that are easy to find if you're in the States. I mean, basically in Florida, it's real easy. You go on the county that you're in and just type in foreclosures, and the website will pop up, and you can see what properties are in foreclosure, and you can go knock on doors and find people. And I agree with you to buy things before they get to the foreclosure sale and actually just take over their mortgages. So bring them current and then keep them as rental properties and just wait. I think buying things now is going to be a really, really good idea, especially subject to mortgages that were historically low. Like, it was only a year ago that you could borrow money at 3%, right?
Yeah,
so,
3%, 4%, 5%. You can't touch
so if you're buying something from someone who's in foreclosure now and they've got a 3 or 4% loan, that's a hell of a deal. I mean, you can find a lot of good value in that. And rents are through the roof in places like Florida, right?
Oh, everywhere. It's
everywhere.
Insane. Like, I don't know how, I really don't know how people are doing it, to tell you the truth, but it's
rents have
crazy.
gone up here on the island of Puerto Rico as well over the last 5 years, but not nearly, not anything close to what has happened in Florida. I mean, we have rental properties right now in Florida that people have been in there for a long time and they're paying $1,000 a month. And if they leave, we increase the rents to like $2,500 a month, right? Like, it's just insane. Even in like Pine Hills, all the houses that I bought at tax deed sales and stuff, those things are renting for $2,000 a month now. When we bought them, they were $600 a month.
So do people know that in Pine Hills, when the market crashed in 2008, you can buy something for like $15,000 to $20,000?
Yeah.
Like, Anwar killed it and bought like 40, 50 of those. And the guy never has to work another day in his life. He collects rent.
Yep. So he did a great job. And we did some of it, but not as much as he did. So
no, not enough.
Well, when are you going to come to Puerto Rico and see what we do here?
Actually, I might go to Puerto Rico possibly in the future, very near future. My father has a property from his parents in Aguadilla.
Oh, nice.
Him and the nephew need to sell it. So I need to go check it out. I need to give him my real estate opinion on it. So I'm going to go to Puerto Rico. It's
well, let me know when you come.
Rincon,
you can stay in our place down in Rincon, which is right by Aguadilla, and we'll put you up on the beach. So don't forget me.
Yes.
Does anyone have any other questions, guys? I think Maritza is a wealth of knowledge. You guys have no idea. And anyone who is thinking of starting out in real estate that worries about having to have money or having to do anything, I mean, you should be on a poster as to like, this is how you can
find the deal and you'll find the money.
What's that?
Find the deal and you'll find the money. So
I say that all the time. Money finds good deals,
yes.
and I believe that wholeheartedly. So
no, they got to be part of groups and they got to network and they got to go to CFRI if they're in Orlando. CFRI is a huge wealth of knowledge. Like they have meetings and teach people deal of the month and how they put it together and stuff like that. But I didn't know any of that stuff. Oh my God, I didn't know anything. I just knew that I wanted to know real estate, and little by little, within 2 weeks, we bought our first house. So,
and then you just worked, Maritza. You worked harder than everyone else at the office. That's the truth. Like, you would be there early, you'd be there late. You just worked. So, I think that's a big part of it. You decide to do something and you just do it until you learn it, and 10,000 hours later, you're an expert.
Yeah.
So guys, do you have any questions for us? Lance says he's glad to have been part of the team and couldn't have done it with two better people. And so Lance is talking about Maritza and I decided to buy foreclosures in Brevard County. Was it South Florida? We would fly down one day a week, try and buy a house, and Lance was there and he was part of our team. And we did 50 or 60 of those. And then
Lance came to Orlando to find you.
Yeah.
And convinced us to go to Broward, or convinced you. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And we would fly in every Wednesday to the foreclosure sale. That was
so we did that foreclosure stuff up and down the east coast of Florida for a long, long time. So yeah,
it was good times. But I will see you soon. I will message you when I'm going to Puerto Rico. I will work on being on your lives on Wednesdays because I didn't know you do this on Wednesdays.
Oh, that's cool.
It's cool to see you on YouTube. 20 years later, we should have done this a million years ago. We'd be retiring on the beach right now.
Yeah, I got a late start, but at least I started.
No, you're doing good.
And you're welcome to stick around and help me answer questions we'll probably go for another 10 minutes or so. There's an important baseball game here on the island tonight. Puerto Rico is playing the Dominican Republic, and they need to win in order to move on. So we won't go too much longer. And BK Breeze says he's got a question. The Federal Reserve has been withholding liquidity from the markets in interest rate hikes, and bank failures forced the Fed to increase liquidity. So get into cash, hard assets, real estate, and crypto metals. I agree. And I hear the thing about the crypto or about the precious metal stuff. I think real estate is really where you should have the bulk of your money. And I love this crypto stuff. I think that it's definitely the next thing. I didn't believe that the internet was going to be a thing and cell phones were going to be a thing. I don't want to sit this one out. I don't want to miss it. Do you invest in crypto at all, Maritza?
Not at all. I don't understand it enough.
Yeah.
I think it's like going to the casino. So you don't put anything that you can't afford to lose in it because it's just too iffy for me. So until I understand it, no. I think real estate, all day. And especially real estate in Orlando, because you can Airbnb that, you can long-term renters, like there's opportunity there. But I don't know enough about crypto.
So Lance is asking now if there are tax benefits to people who live in the U.S. but invest in Puerto Rico. There are, Lance. So there's a ton of stuff. And, when we came to the island of Puerto Rico, we just came to buy some houses and fix them up and sell them. We didn't come here to save money on taxes. We're not a part of several of the different, we don't have a young entrepreneurs business. I just missed it. And I don't have an export services business. But because we invest in real estate, long-term rents are tax-free through 2025. And you can do that from the States. If you buy, like today I was at, I've got a 12-unit building that we're fixing up and we're going to rent long-term. All of that money that will come in those rents is tax-free. And so my partners, who some of them are in the States and some of them are on the island, and it doesn't matter. The income comes in and we don't have to pay tax on it through 2025. So that is something that you can take advantage of. And through Act 60, certainly investing in hospitality, you can be a part of that and you don't have to live on the island. A lot of the other portions of Act 60, you do need to live on the island and be most closely tied to Puerto Rico. So, but there's kind of something for everybody. Puerto Rico is amazing and very, very business friendly and very friendly to people who want to come and invest in the island. So that's why Act 60 exists, is to stimulate business, I guess. So, yeah. Anyone else have some questions for us? I need the big TV up and down. Maritza, I've gotten old and I can't see.
Neither can I. I use the glasses.
Is a DSCR loan able to for a short-term property? So I'm not a mortgage broker, but that's a debt coverage service ratio loan. And it is based off of the rents. I suspect that if you can prove your rents for a long enough period of time, that probably would lend against it. I think that's much easier to do in the States. Like Maritza, you've got a property, I know, in the Keys there that you do the nightly rental thing on. Do you still have that? Do you still?
Yes, one of them. We sold one of them too soon, but yeah, we have one.
It's always too soon. If you wait longer, it's going to be worth more, right?
No, it got crazy down here. I didn't expect that, but it still did well.
But this debt coverage ratio loan, you could have borrowed against the house based on how much money you were bringing in, and they would give you a percentage of that revenue. So, and they're pretty easy loans to get. They were about to have them on the island of Puerto Rico about 4 months ago. People were lined up and ready to get them. Maybe even a few of them closed, and then they stopped the program. And now we've just had these banking failures. So unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little bit of time before that pops back up and becomes a reality for us. Anybody else got any other loans here or any other questions?
I don't see anybody. Hey, Maritza, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, Maritza, this is my friend Don. He's my partner on the YouTube channel.
I'm the reason why you didn't start 20 years ago, because I wasn't there to help Robert with his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So guys, all right. So Guys, if you don't have any more questions, we're gonna cut it out here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in reaching out to Robert, you can reach him at the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, and like the video. Oh, we might have one final question. Oh no, that's just Zulu. You're welcome, Zulu. And thank you so much for your time, guys. We'll see you on Friday with Deal Flippers.
Hey guys, I hope you got a lot out of this. If you're thinking about becoming a real estate investor, I just want to leave you with this. You can do it. I know you can do it. Maritza and I both started with, really very little or even nothing. And it doesn't need to be the perfect time. The perfect time is to start now. So you guys, if this is something you're dreaming of, go for it, grab it and run with it. And thank you for spending an hour of your day. So now we're going to go root for Puerto Rico to beat the other island.
Nice. Take care,
God
guys.
bless you guys.
Don't hang up, Maritza. Hold on.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week.